Hey, what is up? What is up? Welcome to today's recording. Um, this is for, we're going to start off today with, I think we're going to start off with Gemini. I was kind of feeling that a little bit more strongly, so I think we're going to start with Gemini Collective. And this is for August of 2025. All right. Let's just put a little heart emoji over here as well. All right. Gemini, how you doing? How are you feeling? What have you been getting up to? How's the month treating you so far? Yeah, hope it's been good. Wishing you all the best just to start off the reading already for the month. And yeah, so let's get into it. I'm still kind of getting used to the rhythm of, doing this. We're relatively new on here, so I'm still kind of getting used to how to speak, and how to, say all the things that need to be said, like please subscribe, please share, please like, and all of that stuff. But yeah, in all genuineness, I really appreciate your support, and I appreciate you making time to kind of see this. And I'm also it's a total pleasure to just be here and just kind of, do these readings for you. So yeah, so now that that's out of the way, I guess, let's just dive right into it for Gemini Collective. Let's see what is coming in for you guys for this month, what to focus on, or what messages, is in store for you. And this is for the Gemini Collective. All right. I think we're going to start with astrology first. This is for Gemini Collective for August 2025. Okay. I think Capricorn Sun wants to come out. So we're going to hold on to that. Could be dealing with a Capricorn person. Yeah, this may be a marriage. You may be married to a Capricorn person. Something also could be significant during this time period, December to January of next year. So like Capricorn season, maybe also significant. Yeah, this is obviously also an Earth vibration. It is a cardinal Earth vibration, so this is also possibly leadership energy. You know, meaning that maybe some of you guys could actually be leaders, or you could be working on a leadership project, or you could be working on a mentorship or traineeship or something like that, or you could be a leader for some sort of project or organization or something that you lead. May also be the thing here. Or this also could be speaking to a partner, a friendship, a lover that you could be married to that may be significant Capricornian energy as well. Yeah. Yeah. And also they're saying if this is also something that's work related, obviously you want to harness sort of this Capricornian energy a little bit more. And so this may be something that may be very important for you, Gemini, especially because you guys are very brainy signs, very duality sort of oriented types of people. You could be one person today and you could be a different person tomorrow. So that's just the nature of your personalities as Geminis. It's one thing today, it's the representation of the twins. It's like you never know which twin is going to show up on any given day, or even on any given time of the day, right? And so sometimes what that comes with could also be a bit of uncertainty, or a little bit of instability, or the perception of that. Like if you are working in a project, or you're working, or whatever you do, maybe people may perceive you as being, flighty or unstable, not like in a bad way, but just like maybe the better word, like unpredictable, right? Which also sometimes that's a good thing, but sometimes it could also be challenging when you're working with other people who maybe prefer to have a little bit more structure, or prefer to have a certain kind of routine, and things like that, which Geminis are not particularly very good at that. I think you guys are more go with the flow, go with the vibe kind of people, and what you feel in the moment, or whichever twin is in sync with whatever flow is happening is kind of how you guys rock, right? So yeah, like a Gemini is definitely not the same person that you'll encounter on any given day, or like any given time of day. There are obviously some things that are always going to be like pretty set and pretty innate, and then there are some things that are just you just can never really read a Gemini completely, because it's just the nature of who they are, right? That's their superpower, so to speak. However, though, I feel like you pulling this Capricornian energy also could emphasize that sometimes it may be required of you, like especially if you work with other people, to be a little bit more accommodating, or to be a little bit more um, kind of like organized, or follow some sort of like a structure, or some sort of like a pattern, or some sort of a rhythm in a way, right? And I know that that's like a tough ask, for a Gemini, but let's say you're a leader, because that was something that was coming up quite a lot. You may be like a leader for a project, and you work with different people. Like, obviously all of those people are not Geminis. They're different, representations of the zodiac, and, all of that stuff. And so, like, the way you do things may not always be something that other people understand or are comfortable with, right? And so sometimes maybe the compromise on agreeing to certain structures, or agreeing to a certain followed pattern, or a certain way of doing things, also provides a sense of security for the other people that you're working with. It may not be like a big of an issue for you, right? But it may provide the reassurance and the sense of stability or security that the other people you're dealing with may need, because of their own personal dispositions as far as their personalities are concerned, right? And so this is what they're trying to get you to understand in the month of August. It may be something that's like an epiphany, especially when it comes to the work front, especially is being highlighted. But it may also be a thing that could be important when it comes to also your own personal romantic relationships or friendships. All right. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. You're pulling in your own moon, right? And I love the way that they prefer to lend the card the way that it landed on the Capricornian sun. I think this is just spirit confirming basically like what they were just downloading, right? So you may be a Gemini that, your mood, your feelings, your vibes, your chemistry, whatever you're feeling in the moment may just be whatever twin is feeling. Notice also here the twins, right? The symbology they were saying. So you could be, one day you wake up and you feel like this version of yourself, maybe even more masculine or more feminine. The other twin may not necessarily be, because the thing with twins, sometimes you have identical twins, sometimes you have, what are they, fraternal twins, the ones that are not identical. So you may have that configuration where you have identical, where you have the other ones. So you may have like twins where you have both boys or both girls, or a boy and a girl, still twins, right? So it's important to understand that analogy in terms of like that for some of you, you may be the type of twin I'm not saying you're a twin, but like the representation of your energy, you may be the type of twin where it's a boy and a girl, right? So you have the femininity and the masculinity, and sometimes maybe the femininity shows up more in the way you lead, the way you dress, the way you move, the way you feel, the way you organize things. You're just more tapped into that femininity, whether you're a guy or a girl. And then another day, or even within the same day, the male part of you shows up, your masculinity, your masculine energy, and that could also then show up in the way you dress. You may maybe dress a little bit more tomboyish, or you may kind of lead in a more masculine way, or you may be kind of closed off emotionally because you're more tapped into that masculine vibe. You don't want to be bothered, you don't want to be disturbed, kind of like, so this is like the kind of polarities that they're trying to get you to understand, that you live with this reality, and so you understand it because it's a part of who you are. But sometimes you may be dealing with people who don't quite understand it, right? So that's just one thing. And I think that this is important that they're highlighting this, especially with the moon vibration, because obviously the moon represents our feelings and it represents our emotions. It represents things that are also hidden, right? So these are things that you yourself as a Gemini person, you may also be wrestling with and maybe not really sharing or talking about it with people, but these are things that you maybe struggle with innately with yourself. So some of you may be going to therapy, some of you may be seeking out answers through prayers, through meditation, and this reading, for example, may be one way that God is aligning answers for you, right? So I'm here to guide you in that sense. And they're showing me this to confirm to you that what they're saying is indeed true, and that it holds some sort of resonance, especially for me as a reader. And I hope that it does for you too, viewing and seeing, witnessing for yourself what the cards are doing and how spirit is moving through them. So your emotions and feelings, of course, they're important. They matter. They dictate kind of like how you show up in the world and how you represent in the world and how you lead in the world. But I think that God is trying to emphasize also what that looks like in the physical world, right? When you have to be out there, because the world, in a way is kind of Capricornian, the 10th house, Sartanian, that paternal, that, Sartanian energy with all its traditions and restrictions and rules, and do this and dress like this, don't dress like this, don't. And so as a Gemini, you always want to challenge that. You always want to go against the grain, because the world really is very, in some ways, very patriarchal. Sorry, that word is like such a tongue twister for me. But the world may be very patriarchal, which means that it's very male-centered, male-dominated, traditions and rules and, like limitations, restrictions, overcoming obstacles, and like, so there's all this Capricornian, Sartanian things that are connected to the house of Capricorn and connected to the 10th house, which is also the devil. In the tarot, it represents the devil as well. So temptations, lust and desire and, intimacy and all of those things that are all very Capricornian, very 10th house, very Sartanian, right? And so as a Gemini, you're always somebody who you may feel very misunderstood within that matrix of things, right? And so you always kind of want to go against the grain, and you always kind of want to, challenge, perceptions and challenge things all the time. And so what I'm getting here is exactly what they were saying, that you want to be sort of like mindful about kind of like how you come across in your sort of in the world, in the community, in the society where you sort of function in, right? So I think this is something that they definitely wanted to highlight, that you maybe want to sort of pay attention to your feelings and to your emotions, and sort of like how that also impacts how you show up in the world. All right, I hope that makes sense. Now they want me to pull from here. Okay, almost. Okay, that's a whole lot. We just need one. Clear messages, please, for Gemini. Pisces. Some of you may be dealing with Pisces. Okay, thank you. False person. Yeah, false person is quite significant here because it indicates to me that sometimes people perceive you as a false person. They don't always understand. It's either they see you in a way that is not true to your nature, or sometimes they speak of you in a way that is misleading, misunderstanding, or you feel misunderstood. So I feel like a lot of you guys, Geminis out there, sometimes you do deal with this kind of energy where you know, people don't really know which version of you is showing up. Like, is it the twin, as they were saying, the more feminine twin or the more masculine twin? Like, people just don't know which side of you is going to show up. And so sometimes people perceive this to be, they perceive you as somebody who they may say maybe you're inauthentic, or that you're fake, or that you're false, or that you are, something. People always have something to say about Geminis. So, Spirit is just, confirming this to you. This could be something that you really have been meditating, working through, praying about, and Spirit is just really bringing it in and trying to help you through this reading. The number 8 is also representative of the house of Scorpio, the house of psychology. So again, therapy for some of you, that deep dive into your feelings and emotional states. Again, also that Scorpionic 8th house represents rebirth, right? And new beginnings in terms of, the self. And also, the 8th house also represents other people's money, other people's resources, other people's, So, again, this is important because your identity, how you show up in the world, how people perceive you, all of that is connected also to how people want to do business with you, how people want to be led by you or be in partnership with you. So the psychology of work, the psychology of self, the psychology of money, the psychology, all of those things are all connected to the 8th house of Scorpio. And that is what they're highlighting here with the number 8, right? So it's a lot of things that you deal with, so if you deal with other people's money, whether that is through investments or whether that's through whatever, maybe you're a banker or financer, investor. Yeah, they already said that. It could just be also that, like, yeah, people perceive you a certain kind of way that maybe impacts um, your bag, your money, your resourcefulness, right? So these are things that are definitely the Spirit is sort of bringing attention to you to sort of like hone in the month of August as part of your growth journey. So I think that's it. I'm gonna leave it at this for you guys for August. Geminis, please do hit me up in the comments if you feel that this was helpful. If you know a Gemini out there who you feel maybe benefit from this, please do share and subscribe to help this new space and grow. And yeah, so that's it. I really wish you all the best. It's an absolute pleasure to do this for you guys. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. All right, take care.